Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through the fascinating source material we're dissecting today. We're taking a really hard look at the financial and operational squeeze happening right this very second in mid-market business intelligence. If you're operating in a regional company, or honestly, if you just love understanding the hidden mechanics of corporate data strategy, you are exactly in the right place. We're going to unpack exactly why the old way of doing data is suddenly costing an absolute fortune, and more importantly, how smaller enterprises can actually fight back.
40%. Just let that sink in for a second. We're not talking about some minor inflation adjustment here. This is the massive Power BI Pro license increase hitting in 2026. For mid-market companies that are already running really lean budgets, a sudden 40% software price hike, that is a brutal financial pain point. It's exactly the kind of sticker shock that forces entire organizations to wake up and completely rethink their tech stack.
Which immediately brings us to a really critical question. How can a mid-sized manufacturing firm actually reduce BI licensing costs? This is the exact knowledge gap that business leaders, CFOs, and data directors desperately need filled right now. They're staring down the barrel of this 2026 price hike and asking themselves, wait, are we really getting our money's worth, or is there a better way to do this?
Okay, let's dive into this roadmap to escaping the enterprise data trap and building a better single source of truth. We'll cover 1. The mid-market BI squeeze. 2. The spreadsheet addiction. 3. Defining decision integrity. And 4. Securing the competitive edge.
Starting off with Section 1, the mid-market BI squeeze. We are focusing specifically here on regional corporations and companies with revenues under $500 million.
The immediate fallout from this price shock is really severe. Because of that 40% pro license increase, regional founders are actively questioning their default loyalty to the Microsoft stack. For years, the assumption was kind of just, well, we'll use Microsoft for everything else, so we'll just use them for BI. But enterprise constraints are now clashing violently with regional budgets. You simply can't absorb a 40% hike without asking some really hard questions about what you're actually paying for.
And that leads us perfectly to ask, what is the actual ROI of business intelligence for companies under $500 million? It's time we pivot our focus away from pure software pricing and look at the underlying value. If you're paying top dollar for enterprise-grade BI software, what are your teams actually doing with it every single day?
Well, what happens next exposes a massive operational failure. Welcome to Section 2, the spreadsheet addiction. Prepare yourselves, because the reality of how these expensive tools are actually used might shock you.
I absolutely love this quote from a 2026 Reddit business intelligence discussion because, frankly, it is painfully honest. Analysts are out there flat out admitting that their massive, ultra-expensive enterprise infrastructure is usually just serving as a glorified data prep engine for someone's local spreadsheet. I mean, just think about that. Companies are spending absolute fortunes on beautiful visualization tools only for their analysts to quietly use them to clean the data before dumping it right back into Excel.
So we have to ask the obvious question. Why do executives prefer exporting dashboard data to Excel? Why is there such a massive, gaping disconnect between the expensive enterprise infrastructure that IT pays for and the actual day-to-day behavior of the executives running the company?
The disconnect here is just wild. You have this incredibly high expected dashboard ROI that was promised during the sales pitch, right? But that value is instantly destroyed by the actual usage via the export to CSV fallback. The exact moment an executive clicks export to CSV, all the value of that expensive BI tool just vanishes. It's literally like paying for a high-end sports car and exclusively using it as a golf cart.
And the ultimate danger of that export to CSV fallback is that it completely shatters your single source of truth. The second data leaves the governed, secure environment of BI tool and lands in a local spreadsheet on someone's hard drive, the logic is totally disconnected. Now you've got different executives walking into a boardroom with different numbers, all of them claiming their personal spreadsheet is the right one. It is an absolute nightmare for data quality and accountability.
So how do we actually fix this? Let's transition into Section 3, defining decision integrity. This is where we shift our narrative away from the frustrating problem and move toward a high accountability upgrade. Fully understanding this new framework is absolutely vital. Decision integrity isn't about buying a tool that can crunch a billion rows of data. It's a strategic approach focused on automating the business logic right alongside the visual charts. It ensures real data governance, genuine accountability, and crucially, a reproducible single source of truth.
It's all about valuing the accuracy and governance of the decision-making process way above just sheer data volume.
Which, of course, brings us to the mid-market reality check. How do you build a single source of truth without enterprise-level budgets? Because let's be real, if you can't afford to just throw millions of dollars at the problem like a Fortune 500 company, how are you supposed to implement this decision integrity?
Let's break down how this becomes a highly practical strategy for SMEs. Step 1. You pivot away from sheer data volume. You probably don't need to process petabytes of data anyway. Step 2. Automate the why. Don't just throw a chart up there. Automate the underlying business logic so everyone in the room understands exactly where those numbers came from. And step 3. Implement high accountability governance. You lock the system down so tightly and make it so trustworthy that people don't even want to export it to CSV. Establishing this automated logic is just vastly superior to overpaying for enterprise volume you simply don't need.
Which takes us to our final section, securing the competitive edge. Let's look at how applying this decision integrity strategy actually creates a distinct structural advantage in the market for regional firms.
This strategy creates a stark, undeniable contrast in the market. The old enterprise tools rely heavily on data volume, super hype, but often just good enough AI, and require incredibly high budgets. On the flip side, we have the Pivot BI analytics approach. This focuses intensely on decision integrity, automated logic, and high accountability. It's a completely different philosophy, really. You are actively choosing precision and logic over bloat and hype.
And speaking of hype, we've got to address the elephant in the room. What are the risks of using AI for financial reporting in regional companies? It's incredibly trendy right now to just say, oh, whatever, we'll just let the AI build our dashboards. But in mid-market finance, that can be a highly, highly dangerous game to play.
Here is exactly why. Good enough AI-generated dashboards generally lack reproducibility. If you ask an AI the exact same question twice, you might get two entirely different answers. It completely fails to provide strict data governance, and it entirely misses the why behind the data. The AI doesn't know the deep, nuanced operational context of your specific regional business. So definitely remember this takeaway. For SMEs, context is the new currency.
And this is exactly where the whole strategy comes together beautifully. Pivot BI Analytics positions itself as the high accountability alternative. It is purpose-built to prevent that dreaded export to CSV fallback by giving executives the context and the automated logic they need directly inside the tool. It's essentially the ultimate fix to both the massive pricing squeeze of the Microsoft stack and that deeply ingrained spreadsheet addiction.
I want to leave you with this final, truly provocative thought. Ask yourself honestly today, is your BI tool actually driving strategic decisions in your boardroom, or is it just a very, very expensive piece of software used for prepping data for your local spreadsheets? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those tough questions about your data, and I'll see you next time.